I'm Court.
I'm Kiah.
And we're the Backroad Cowgirls.
I'm doing this walking with my family life.
I'm Court.
And I'm Kiah.
And we're the Backroad Cowgirls.
Today, Courtney, I'm bringing you to my favorite place in the entire world, Carrisa Plains, California, to Twisselman Ranch, where my family's been ranching for 7 generations. What do you say we go meet the patriarch, Grandpa Daryl?
Oh, Grandpa Daryl, I've been waiting to meet him. Let's go.
This is some of the last land in the United States that was developed. Up till about 1900, it was pretty much all government land. That's what brought the people into here, and they started the Homestead Acts, and that's how a lot of people acquired their land. And so we never had a lot of money in the family, but we still don't. We got land, no money. Anyway, they opened that up to homestead, and so my granddad homesteaded most of the waters with all the relatives and the hired men and everybody else. We had the control of the water, so then we got to buy a homestead or two every year for 100 years, is the way we actually acquired the ranch. To buy this land from the original homesteaders families, you had to go make your money outside of this area. The cattle didn't make enough money to buy land. The cattle pay the taxes and kind of keep you going, but it appreciates in value. And land is easy to hold on to because it takes you a long time to get it sold. There's no liquidity much in land value. It takes a long time to get it sold and get the money. So then you tend to keep working the outside and bringing the outside money into here to create your wealth by buying more land. And the only problem with land is that you can't just get your money real quick. But that's good for a guy like me, because if I had the cash, I spent it all. There's something magical about the romance of the Old West. Kind of a lot of sweat and blood and tears, and there is a feeling of that, and I think you acquire it from being out in the boondocks like we are, and still being close to civilization, so you can see both sides. You know, being able to see both sides is a real important thing. The cattle drive, decided to have this cattle drive and invite people along. We had about 800 head of cattle, I guess, in the drive, 150 people on the ride. We had a cross-section of society. We had grandfathers, corporate heads in Los Angeles bringing their grandkid up to go on the cattle drive to find out what that part of the world was like. Got the TV outfits and flying over and taking pictures. And it was just a tremendous event, and it was a lasting remembrance, you might say, for an awful lot of people. Been 20 years ago, I guess we did it. We did it for 13 years. Been 25 years ago, I guess we started, I don't know. But anyway, all those kids that were on that cattle drive, they all say at everything I go to, when they get up and talk, they talk about going on that cattle drive. Be damn careful of who you marry, because that's a tough one. I think marriages only last about 8 or 10 years now, and if it's all it's going to last, you don't even fool with it. That's like buying a house that's going to fall down in about 8 or 10 years. That's kind of silly. Look at me, Grandma, she said. Look at me. We've been married, it will be 70 years next year.
A long time.
Well, that makes it longer. 70 next year is better than 69 years now. The woman is in total control if she wants to be. And most of the real smart women I know make their man think that the man's smarter than they are. And that's the way you find out who the smart woman is. The biggest secret to a happy marriage, I think, is to be so damn busy that you didn't have time to worry too much about it as long as it was kind of working along pretty good.
I was so busy with 8 kids that I just didn't have time to get upset. I wouldn't raise 8 kids anywhere else but right here on the ranch, especially in town. I'd go nuts. They just kind of roamed all over the place, and I didn't really have to worry too much about them. The big ones took care of the little ones.
I was the 5th generation of the ranch. As we were growing up, you were doing all things ranch, but I never really got into the horses or cattle. I decided that I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go into ag mechanics. So I started that when I was in high school. I went on to a junior college and learned ag engineering. So I really wanted to be a builder, you know, a fabricator more than anything. But necessity on the ranch made me learn more than just fabricating. So I end up doing electrical, fabricating, plumbing, automotive, you name it. That's what I do. But a lot of what I learned too wasn't necessarily in school. It was from working with Grandpa's mechanic and some different people that I apprenticed under. What you watched me do this morning with the plasma cam, that's kind of an outside business, but we do use that. I use it on the ranch to make parts. I mean, we build parts for gates, trailers, whatever. We can cut them out on that machine. Without me, nothing works, nothing happens. I mean, I don't work cattle, but all the machinery, everything that's involved in keeping the ranch going, whether it be a water well or a piece of equipment, a tractor, a truck, or whatever, and rebuilding and maintaining all that stuff, that is what my role is. Seeing my kids and my grandkids on the ranch is the one thing that you hope for. You really do. I mean, all of my kids are doing something different. That they're doing something different than I did. And everybody, when you live on a ranch, you have to branch out and do things other than ranch just to be able to survive on a ranch. And they're all successful in their own right at what they do. But they're all still tied to the ranch very heavily. And that's what you live for. That's what you dream for. That's all I ever cared about. All I ever cared about was family. Money doesn't buy happiness. And so I never worried about whether I was making $1 million or whatever. I just want to keep the ranch and keep it for family and keep it as long as you possibly can. Raising kids on a ranch is the best place to raise kids. I mean, it teaches them values and it teaches them about hard work. You get a chance to really mold them when you're on a ranch. And yeah, we're in rural California, so we're 50 miles from the nearest town. We have a little local grammar school. Raising your kids and then being able to help raise your grandkids makes them good people. It really makes them good people. I think ranching and farming people are some of the best people in the country.
And you told me, whatever I do in my life, you said, Kiah, you got to do something with people. And for me, that's definitely taken my career off the ranch. I became a life coach, a speaker. I'm producing this TV show, and I feel like I had this struggle with, where do I fit? Where do I fit on the ranch? How does my story tie back in? How can I give back to the place that raised me? And I feel like maybe this storytelling piece is where I fit, even if I'm not on the day-to-day ranch. But what do you think, Grandpa? How do you think that it all fits?
Well, I think for one thing, the ranch, it's just like growing a crop. It gives you roots, okay? So that's your roots. Wherever you go, whatever you do, that's your roots. And so you just feed those roots. Protect the idea of the ranch, the romance of the Old West. Because, and I'll tell you what proved to me that is important, to preserve that idea. You go look at the movies you watch, and you turn on the old movies, and the older they get, the more West, the Old West is in them. But all our famous movie stars, And everybody is tied to that romance of the Old West because of that's what they call westward expansion. But I think preserving that part of the idea into the future is probably the most important thing you can do. I always advise everybody, don't get into a job you don't love to do, even if it's paying 10 times as much as one that you do love to do. You got to make enough to make a living. And then from there on, do something you love to be doing. And you go out and you look through society, and the most successful and happiest content people are people that are doing something they love to do. And you can't beat that.